Pensive, sorrowful, and full of reflection are the emotions that washed over me after researching and learning about more than 100 Black public figures connected to the pain of losing a life partner to incurable diseases. Hello everyone, we are our Memory Vault, and this is the video 21 Black celebrities whose partners died of incurable diseases. This greatly impacts how we view the value of love health and the impermanence of human life behind the halo, and it might just leave you stunned. This video is perfect to play while you are resting, enjoying a meal with your family, or doing chores around the house. All the information in this video has been carefully researched and gathered from multiple sources. If there are any oversights, please leave a comment below to help our channel continue to grow. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and ring the notification bell to receive updates on our latest videos. Now, let us step right into the stories of our first figures. Morgan Freeman. Topping the list is Morgan Freeman, one of the most respected, towering figures of the Hollywood cinematic capital. Possessing a warm, deep voice and a calm, majestic demeanor, he is often cast in iconic roles of wisdom, even playing the supreme being capable of shifting the universe. However, when the velvet curtain of art closes and he steps back into the real world, Morgan Freeman is also just an ordinary man carrying the ultimate helplessness of having to watch his wife of many years. Myrna Lee fade away day by day due to systemic lupus erythematosus. Through the lens of empathy, this vicious disease not only ravages physical health, but also erodes the willpower of those involved. The immune system attacking its own body caused Myrna to fall into prolonged periods of fatigue, dull aches, and a severe decline in respiratory function. Morgan Freeman tried to do everything within the capacity of a husband, keeping watch by her hospital bed after long flights from film sets in Europe. But money and fame cannot buy a miracle. The moment of seeing one's life partner having to rely on medical equipment to maintain her breathing is a heavy psychological blow to anyone, no matter how resilient they are. Their separation after many years of battling the illness was not a betrayal, but seemingly the final limit of exhaustion. For audiences who have experienced long-term caregiving for a sick relative, Morgan Freeman's story brings a profound sadness. It shows that sometimes the greatest helplessness in human life is not failure in a career, but standing by watching the one you love gradually fade away without being able to share even a fraction of the pain. The disease not only took Myrna's vitality, but also robbed them of the belief that love can conquer all adversity. Ray Charles. In the second position is Ray Charles, an immortal monument who overcame the darkness of blind eyes to light up the world with soul and R&B music. He is a testament to an extraordinary will to rise above. But ironically, those eyes that could not see physical light had to witness in the most painful way the withering of his wife, Della Beatrice, when she faced a terminal illness in its final stages. The 3 long years Della fought through chemotherapy sessions was a time when Ray Charles fell into a deep internal crisis, a battle he chose to surrender to by turning to stimulants to anesthetize himself. Let us analyze the weakness hidden behind the shell of greatness. We often demand that celebrities always be strong, but rarely does anyone understand the massive psychological pressure of facing death, waiting to snatch away a loved one. Ray Charles. Immersing himself in addictive substances right while his wife was taking her last breaths on a hospital bed was not merely the downfall of a star. I view it as a tragically escapist reaction to reality. The smell of antiseptic, the cold medical equipment, and Della's gradually depleting life were things too much to bear for a man who inherently carried too much darkness in his soul. He sang lullabies to his wife to sleep, then borrowed stimulants to run away from the haunting fear of loss. When Della passed away, family members recounted that Ray Charles did not shed a single tear. He just quietly gripped her final keepsakes. That silence was crueler and more painful than any wailing cries. To those who have tasted separation, Ray Charles's story is a tear-soaked reminder. Outstanding talent can help a person conquer the whole world, but is useless before the natural laws of life and death. Mr. Ray Charles could hear every magical sound of life, but ultimately had to live in the silence of a heart full of regret and remorse. The silent pain of Ray Charles in the dark is enough to make us choke up. But the cold tragedy hidden behind the doors of the Godfather of Soul's mansion right up next will make you feel even more sorrowful. Do not take your eyes off the screen because the most poignant stories are still ahead. James Brown. James Brown is hailed as the Godfather of Soul, an eternal machine of energy on stage. He brought explosive dance moves, wildness, and a regal lifestyle. However, when the flashing lights of the press went out, his magnificent mansion became the place to witness one of the most melancholic family tragedies. His wife, Adrienne Brown, had once been a radiant, sharp woman who wholeheartedly devoted herself to her husband's career. But the invisible pressures from a marriage full of instability, coupled with prolonged mental trauma, pushed her into a dead end, clinging to sedatives and painkillers to seek a fake peace. Through the lens of mental health analysis, Adrienne's passing was not only due to physical exhaustion, acute heart failure, but it was the result of a long process of psychological attrition. Living beside a legend with too massive an ego, she gradually lost herself. The physical aches were only the surface of a soul crying out for help. I am deeply saddened to assess that James Brown's wealth could not buy his wife a single day of serenity. The injections and pills she used are proof of an infinite despair when that woman could not find any warm anchor from the man she had dedicated her entire youth to standing shoulder to shoulder with. The moment Adrienne collapsed forever in ultimate isolation is a heavily weighted sentence of conscience. Her funeral took place quietly, and James Brown only appeared for a few brief minutes with a cold, emotionless face. This story touches the deepest part of the consciousness of mature audiences. It strips bare a harsh truth. The halo of the stage cannot warm a cold house. Illness sometimes does not originate from natural pathogens, but it is nurtured by heartlessness, coldness, and mental pains left neglected until they can no longer be saved. Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson is not just a basketball legend, he is a symbol of American sportsmanship. But in 1991, when he announced he was carrying the HIV virus, the whole world seemed to shake. For his wife, Cookie Johnson, it was a horrific shock as she had just given birth. Living with the ghost of an infectious terminal illness, it was thought that that was the ultimate test of human endurance. Yet fate did not seem ready to let them go. Years later, Cookie continued to receive devastating news she had breast cancer. At the same time, both husband and wife had to face life or death diseases, turning their home into a defensive fortress against the scythe of death. Let us analyze the power of fidelity in adversity. While many are ready to turn their backs when their partner falls into despair, Cookie chose to stay by Magic's side, and then later Magic became the most solid anchor when she went on the operating table to remove the tumor. I evaluate that this is a highly epic story of marital loyalty. The moments Cookie lay in the recovery bed after surgery, right on their 13th wedding anniversary, looking up at the cold ceiling and wondering why life was pushing them to the wall, are moments that squeeze the heart of anyone who has ever been a parent. Although they both luckily overcame the near-death experiences and are still living today, the haunting fear of death has never truly let them go. The daily antiviral pills, the regular health checkups, always carry an anxious fear. For audiences past the age of 45, the story of the Magic Johnson family is a living testament to the value of the vow in sickness and in health. It teaches us that when facing the boundary of life and death, all the glamour of fame becomes meaningless. The only thing that saves human beings is the steadfastness to hold each other's hands through the storm. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye possessed a voice that touched the heavenly realm. His love songs connected millions of loving hearts around the world. Yet his married life with Anna Gordy, a woman 17 years his senior, was a sad piece of music with melancholic low notes. Illness spares no one, and the disease Anna had to bear was not cancer or a physical pathology, but incredibly severe psychological syndromes, deep depression, paranoia, and chronic panic attacks. She locked herself in a room, carrying vague fears of being harmed, turning herself into a prisoner in her own home. Through the lens of psychiatric analysis, Diseases of the mind sometimes devastate people more terrifyingly than bleeding wounds. Marvin Gaye, with his soaring and highly sensitive artistic soul, was completely powerless to pull his wife out of the darkness. The sleepless nights due to his wife's panicked screams, the times he had to desperately call an ambulance drained the legendary singer's vitality. I believe that the breakdown of this marriage was an inevitable outcome when both were too deeply wounded. Love, no matter how great, cannot replace medical therapies and cannot compensate for the fractures inside a brain being tormented by illness. The prolonged divorce lawsuit, where Anna admitted to once having intentions to end her life because she felt she was no longer of value, was the peak of psychological tragedy. To older viewers, the story of Marvin and Anna brings a profound warning about caring for a life partner's mental health. Illnesses of the soul often receive little attention, but their destructive power on a family is incredibly cruel. It turned love into endurance, turned a home into a prison, and left in Marvin Gaye's mind smoldering wounds until the day he departed this world. The helplessness of an artist's soul before illness is already a sad song, but what happens when a great giant of the sports world also has to bow his head before death? Let us continue to discover the silent pain of monuments seemingly invincible. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a great legend, a true giant in both the literal and figurative sense of the NBA. With a superior physique and unparalleled strength, he once believed that his massive hands could shield and protect his family from all storms. Yet fate struck a cruel blow when his gentle wife Habiba was diagnosed with a severe thyroid illness. The disease progressed at a dizzying pace, stripping away her vitality and voice, turning the once radiant woman into a quiet shadow, taking labored breaths in a hospital room. Through the lens of family psychology analysis, the tragedy of Kareem's family did not only lie in physical pain, but in the invisible distance created by the very torment itself. Kareem canceled countless important games to stay by his wife's side, but the distance between them grew larger day by day. Why was that? I assess that it was the sorrow of a wife who did not want to become a burden. Habiba saw the exhaustion in her great husband's eyes. She would rather choose to leave, moving out to live separately in her final days, to free him from the torment of having to watch the one he loved fade away without being able to do anything. Their separation did not stem from the depletion of love, but from a deeply painful sacrifice. For audiences who have tasted the feeling of caring for a severely ill relative, the image of Kareem standing quietly in the middle of an empty room brings a choking empathy. It proves a harsh truth. Physical strength or greatness on the court is completely meaningless before the destructive power of illness. He could block the most difficult shots of his opponents, but completely collapsed and was powerless to keep the heartbeat of his beloved life partner. Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier is a great trailblazer, the first black actor to win the prestigious Oscar statuette. He kicked down all barriers of prejudice to step to the peak of the Hollywood cinematic capital, making the whole world take their hats off in admiration. Sidney once believed that great achievements and massive wealth would be the most solid shield protecting his family. But the illusion about the power of fame completely collapsed on a fateful Valentine's night when he found his beloved wife Joanna Shimkus collapsed on the cold floor, marking the beginning of a grueling battle with a critical illness. Let us analyze the awakening to the value of life after life and death events. The moment he held his wife's frail body, all stage halos, million-dollar contracts, or audience applause suddenly became meaningless. I highly admire Sidney's decision when he put aside his entire illustrious career, refusing all film offers, to become a diligent caregiver personally, cooking every bowl of porridge, supporting his wife step by step in a house reeking of antiseptic. The massive hospital bills gradually drained their retirement savings, but in return, he successfully snatched Joanna's life back. Although his wife luckily crossed the threshold of death, this event completely changed the worldview of the cinematic monument. Audiences past middle age will certainly deeply understand his later confession to his daughter. Success means nothing if we lose the person to share it with. Sidney Poitier's story is a brilliantly humane lesson, stripping bare the vanity of the halo. It affirms an immortal truth. When facing the fragile boundary of life and death, the most precious asset of a human life is not golden trophies, but the warmth of the life partner still present beside us. Every morning we wake up. Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. was once one of the core members of the legendary Rat Pack, representing the most lavish, flamboyant, and glamorous lifestyle of the American elite. His explosive performance style and radiant smile conquered millions of audiences. But that glamour was a curtain covering an incredibly tragic end for his wife, Altavice Davis. After Sammy passed away and left a massive tax debt forcing her to sell all memorabilia, Altavice continued to suffer 2 consecutive death sentences: a terminal illness in her throat taking away her voice, and the cruel discovery that she carried the disease of the century, HIV/AIDS. Through the lens of sociological analysis, Altavice's tragedy lay not only in physical pain but more cruelly, it was the complete collapse of dignity. In the early 2000s, social prejudices about this infectious disease were still incredibly heavy. The leak of medical information pushed her into the eye of a storm of gossip, malicious speculations about her late husband's promiscuous past or medical errors. From the position of a lady living in silk, she had to spend her final days in a cramped rented room, enduring the coldness of the world. The passing of Altavice Davis is the most painful low note in the brilliant picture of the entertainment world. For viewers with deep empathy, this is a highly deterrent story about the fleeting nature of fame. It reminds us of the cruelty of public opinion when people easily forget great contributions to scrutinize personal tragedies. Her final confession: dying from illness is not scary enough. Dying in humiliation is the most painful thing, is truly a choking sob haunting all who once believed that fame could protect people from the tragedies of fate. Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor is recognized as one of the most outstanding stand-up comedians of all time. With his charm and innate talent, he brought laughter to millions of people around the world. Yet behind the brilliant stage lights, his life was a series of extremely tragic events. In the early 1990s, when his wife Jennifer Lee was struggling with brutal chemotherapy sessions for a critical illness, Richard himself received devastating news. He was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, a disease that destroys the nervous system, gradually robbing him of the ability to control his body's movements. Let us imagine the most cruel moment of helplessness. When his wife collapsed in the middle of the living room from exhaustion, Richard could only sit in his wheelchair, his hands trembling, unable to control them, to move closer and help her up. Through the lens of psychological analysis, this is the heaviest punishment for a man. 2 people who were once incredibly strong now became prisoners in their own bodies. They had divorced, but then remarried in that very context of despair. Why I believe that return was not merely love, but it was a deep empathy, when only they could understand the ultimate pain and helplessness of the other. Richard Pryor's story carries a bitterly ironic twist. A person who spent his whole life making others laugh had to cry in helplessness in his final years. To the audience, this is a costly lesson about the fragility of health. No matter how much joy you bring to humanity, when illness knocks on the door, you will also have to face the cruel limits of biology alone. Richard and Jennifer leaned on each other, not with physical strength, but with the understanding of 2 heavily wounded souls, proving one thing: marital loyalty truly shines not in moments of glory, but precisely in the moment when both are submerged in darkness. Barry White. Closing this second segment is Barry White, hailed as the king of love songs. With a warm, passionate voice, he lulled and soothed countless loving hearts. Yet there is an incredibly bitter paradox. The man who sang the best love songs was the one who inflicted the most trauma on the very woman who shared his bed. While Barry was engrossed in tours and entangled in romantic rumors, his wife Glodian silently endured ultimate loneliness in their massive house. When a malignant tumor was discovered, the physical illness seemed to only be the final straw for a marriage that had inherently been clinically dead for a long time. Let us analyze the cruelty of heartlessness. The moment Glodian entered the life-or-death operating room, fighting for her life. For many hours, Barry White was still standing on stage in Paris, holding a microphone, belting out passionate words of love before tens of thousands of audiences. His failure to stop the show upon receiving the notification from his assistant was a fatal stab cutting the final emotional ties. I am deeply saddened to assess that the physical pain of surgery cannot compare to the mental pain when a wife realizes she no longer holds any priority position in her husband's heart. The flower basket sent to the hospital room with a brief note lacking a sender's name was the clearest proof of a dead love. Although they did not legally divorce, the distance in their souls was an unfillable abyss. Later, when Barry himself had to lie on a hospital bed due to kidney failure, Glodian still came to visit, but between them remained only the silence of strangers. For you, the audience, Barry White's story brings a poignant reflection on the hypocrisy of the halo. Never judge a family's happiness through songs or sweet words in the media. The most terrifying loneliness in the world is not living alone, but living beside someone who always sings about love, yet treats their life partner with a coldness bordering on heartlessness. Smokey Robinson. Smokey Robinson is praised by the world as the heart and soul of the legendary Motown record label. With his talented pen and smooth voice, he penned countless romantic love songs, healing the hearts of countless generations of listeners. Yet there is a highly bitter paradox in his life. The man who could use music to soothe the whole world was completely powerless to soothe the pain of his own wife Claudette when she had to face the cruel disease of systemic lupus erythematosus. Let us analyze the cruelty of autoimmune diseases. It is not just an attack from external agents, but it is when the body betrays itself. Claudette had to go through what should have been her most brilliant years of youth in extreme fatigue when every joint, every breath became an arduous battle. I am deeply saddened to look at the boundary between hope and despair in their family. The vicious disease not only robbed Claudette of her vitality, but also heartlessly stripped away her calling as a mother after many times of hope followed by shattered dreams. The nights Smokey stayed awake by her hospital bed, holding his wife's frail hand, were the nights he most profoundly felt the finiteness of human life. Their separation, after long, exhausting years, was not a betrayal of love, but a surrender to an overly painful destiny. To audiences who have been through many of life's storms, Smokey Robinson's story brings a heart-wrenching stillness. He wrote the most beautiful lyrics about eternity, but had to bitterly let go of the one he loved most because of an incurable disease. It reminds us that no matter how great love is, sometimes it must helplessly stand and watch the life partner slowly fade away like pale illusions after the stage lights go out. Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron is one of the greatest athletes in American sports history, a man who broke seemingly unbreakable records in baseball. Every time he swung the bat, tens of thousands of fans in the stands erupted in frantic cheers. But few know that when leaving the dazzling glories at the stadium, Hank Aaron quietly walked back to a house lacking laughter where his wife Billy was imprisoned in a wheelchair by severe complications from arthritis and lupus. Through the lens of analyzing the value of a life partner, Hank Aaron's actions truly define what a real hero is. Witnessing his once radiant woman no longer able to walk on her own, he did not hesitate to sell his favorite supercar, an item symbolizing the success of a superstar, to completely redesign the house, installing mobility support systems for his wife. I assess that this is a beautiful testament to silent sacrifice. To Hank, no great record, no cheering could compare to his wife's peaceful smile in their small kitchen. Yet illness is still an invisible and heartless thief. No matter how many funny stories Hank tried to tell, no matter how hard he tried to compensate, Billy's eyes were still gradually filled with the fatigue and deep sadness of someone who had lost physical freedom. For older audiences, the story of this baseball legend brings an incredibly poignant message. The true strength of a man does not lie in achievements in society, but in the solid shoulders, ready to bend down to lift his life partner during the darkest and most exhausted days of her life. Al Green. Al Green possessed a voice as smooth as velvet, a soul music monument that captivated millions of souls. Yet his married life with his wife Shirley Kiles is an incredibly painful example of the destructive power of invisible diseases, psychological pathologies. Unlike cancer or physical diseases, Shirley suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and chronic panic attacks. Their home, instead of being a sanctuary, gradually turned into a suffocating space filled with suspicion, unresolvable conflicts, and deep fractures of trust. Let us analyze the harshness of mental illness in married life. When the mind is trapped in fear, the patient will gradually isolate themselves from those around them, including their closest life partner. I'm deeply saddened to reread the notes about Shirley constantly cowering in the dark, relying on sedatives to seek a dreamless sleep. The illness changed her temperament, and the pressures from Al Green's fame only made the situation worse. Shirley's heart-wrenching confession in court. "I don't know if I'm more afraid of the illness or afraid of the man I once loved," was the peak of a marital tragedy. Their separation was a sad sentence for both. To audiences with deep insight, Al Green's story does not carry the color of judgment, but it exposes a cruel reality. When the soul of one of the two is suffocated by psychological trauma, love will gradually turn into a burden. Mental illness is sometimes even harder to heal than physical wounds because it not only robs sanity, but also completely destroys the foundation of trust, the only thing that keeps a family from shattering in the face of storms. Curtis Mayfield. Curtis Mayfield was a genius of funk and soul music who strongly inspired the community with songs deeply imbued with life philosophies. However, fate seemed to strike his family with the cruelest lashes a human could imagine. After a horrific stage accident permanently took away his mobility, turning him from a free artist into a man confined to a hospital bed, just a few months later, his gentle and diligent wife Althida received a diagnosis of a terminal illness in its final stage. The two pillars of the family collapsed at the same time, pushing them into an ultimate circumstance of despair. Through the lens of fidelity and marital ethics, the story of the Mayfield family is truly a great epic romance written in blood and tears. Despite being tormented by pain and exhausted after chemotherapy sessions herself, Althida refused to move out to receive better care. She used her last fading ounces of vitality to personally feed her disabled husband every spoonful of medicine, staying close by his side. I assess that her silent statement, "If I have to leave, I want to take my last breath right next to him," contains a power greater than any oath of eternal love in the world. Facing hundreds of thousands of dollars in hospital bills and the depletion of their assets, they leaned on each other, not with material things, but with an unwavering, ironclad loyalty. For our older audience, the image of husband and wife fighting death together in a quiet room brings an emotion that stills the heart. It proves to the whole world that in the depths of tragedy, when the physical body is completely broken, marital loyalty is the brightest burning flame warming two souls before they are forced to step into eternity. Isaac Hayes. Closing this third segment is Isaac Hayes, the genius composer who once stood at the peak of fame with the classic hit theme from Shaft. He possessed a massive fortune, luxurious mansions, and collections of expensive cars. However, all illusions about the power of money completely collapsed when his beloved wife Adjoa contracted a vicious cancer. Facing massive treatment costs and the most complex medical protocols, Isaac did not hesitate for a moment to give up everything he had to fight for every day of life for his life partner. Let us analyze the awakening to the true value of assets. In the glamorous entertainment world, people often use money to measure success. But for Isaac Hayes, those real estate properties or supercars were just lifeless objects. He quietly sold off every classic car, mortgaged even the mansion filled with memories to pay for hospital bills amounting to hundreds of thousands of dollars. I deeply respect this choice of his. Staying awake through long nights by the hospital bed, tightly holding his wife's hand as she fell into deep sleeps after injections, is the image of a man who shed all halos to return to the most primal nature of love. even though ultimately a miracle did not happen and Ajoa still had to leave his arms. Isaac never regretted his bankruptcy. He once thoughtfully shared, "If I could choose again, I would still be willing to trade everything just to have one more day to see her smile." For audiences who have gone through years of ups and downs, Isaac Hayes' story is a profoundly philosophical silence. It sends us a deep lesson about a worldview. Money can help us buy the most expensive things in the world, but it becomes completely worthless if it cannot be used to shelter and protect the people we love the most. Diahann Carroll. Diahann Carroll was not just an actress, she was an icon who broke Hollywood's deepest racial prejudices. As the first black woman to star in an American television series without playing a maid, she sculpted the image of a powerful, proud, and highly educated woman. Her entire life was a series of uncompromising battles to claim her status. Yet when entering her twilight years, that iron-willed queen voluntarily shed all halos to become a diligent wife, caring for her fourth husband, singer Vic Damone, when he had to fight a critical illness. Let us analyze the quietness of twilight romances. Unlike the passionate enthusiasms of youth, love in the final stretch of life often carries a somber yet incredibly enduring tone. I am truly moved imagining Diahann, the woman who once strode on the most prestigious red carpets in the world, now quietly cleaning and keeping watch by her husband's hospital bed in a small apartment. She turned down major roles, refused the stage lights in exchange for the final moments to hold her life partner's hand. To her, no award was more precious than Vic Damone's peaceful breathing. Vic's passing left a vast emptiness in Diahann's heart, but no regrets. To audiences who have experienced many of life's fluctuations, Diahann Carroll's story carries a highly warming message. True love is not the vows of eternal commitment in youth, but the patience and compassion when both have graying hair. She proved that behind an iron woman who once shook Hollywood, there was still a soft heart ready to sacrifice everything just to be a fully devoted wife in his final days. Percy Sledge. Percy Sledge was the one who breathed life into the immortal love song. When a man loves a woman, turning it into a great manifesto about the love of men. When a man loves a woman, he can sacrifice everything, dedicating even his life. And Percy Sledge lived exactly as he sang, but in a highly tragic way. When his wife Rosa was diagnosed with a critical illness, Percy squeezed out his sweat and his very last drops of strength on stages to earn money to cover hospital bills, even when his peak period had long passed. Through the lens of analyzing the cruelty of money and adversity, Percy Sledge's tragedy is the pain of a man unable to protect his family. He organized fundraising performances, raising his voice full of sobs, not out of artistic desire, but because it was the only salvation to buy extra days of life for Rosa. I assess that the moment Rosa sat in a wheelchair in the audience watching her husband struggling on stage and silently apologizing for becoming a burden is one of the most heartbreaking images in music history. Their love was so immense, but was brutally crushed by financial reality and illness. Despite his utmost efforts, a miracle did not happen. Rosa passed away, leaving Percy Sledge stranded amidst medical bills and a pain that cannot be described in words. To those who are the pillars of their families, this story touches the deepest, most hidden fears, the fear of helplessness. Percy sang about a great love that could turn the world around, but ultimately he had to painfully realize his legendary voice could bring tears to the eyes of millions, but could not bribe death to save the woman he loved the most. David Ruffin. David Ruffin, a former member of the Temptations, possessed one of the most powerful and emotional male voices in Motown history. But accompanying his innate talent was a life submerged in self-destruction. While David struggled with toxic habits that sent his career into a nosedive, his wife Sandra Ruffin silently endured an invisible but equally devastating illness, chronic depression, and severe insomnia. The collapse of their family did not come from a physical tumor, but from the complete breakdown of mental health. Let us analyze the resonance in the tragedy of two wounded souls. In a home when both spouses lack the clarity and strength to be an anchor for the other collapse is only a matter of time. I am deeply pained to acknowledge that Sandra falling into a state of panic and relying on sedatives was not weakness, but the consequence of a married life far too turbulent and insecure. The sad incident when Sandra collapsed from exhaustion while David was still drifting in his own hallucinations is the clearest proof of a family that had completely lost the ability to self-heal. Luckily, escaping the scythe of death but neurological after-effects left Sandra unable to work, pushing the family into destitution. The story of the Ruffin family brings a poignant reflection on the vicious cycle of toxicity. Illness is sometimes not born on its own, but it is nurtured by a lack of affection, heartlessness, and the consecutive mistakes of those involved. It reminds us that to protect a family, love alone is not enough. We also need clarity and responsibility so as not to push ourselves and our life partners into psychological abysses with no way back. Eddie Kendricks. If the story of David Ruffin's family is psychological destruction, then the tragedy of Eddie Kendricks, another great piece of The Temptations, is a cruel physical blow. Famous for his falsetto voice, soaring like an angel, Eddie was once the model of elegance and charm. Yet fate chose his family to test the limits of human endurance. Right while Eddie was running around everywhere taking care of every treatment session for his wife Patricia, who was battling a critical illness, he was stunned to receive a death notice for himself. A terminal lung disease had come knocking. Through the lens of analyzing the irony of destiny, this is an utterly tragic circumstance. A husband and wife, two life partners who once vowed to share the bitter and the sweet, now had to lie next to each other on two hospital beds, counting each other's labored breaths. I cannot contain my emotion when imagining the moment they held hands, no longer having the strength to speak words of comfort, but only silently wondering who would be the one to go first. This helplessness goes far beyond any physical pain. It is the despair of witnessing one's family being wiped out without being able to do anything to stop it. Patricia passed away first, leaving Eddie alone with the disease gnawing at his own body. His final whisper on his hospital bed, "I don't understand what we did wrong to receive an ending." Like this is a haunting question sent into the unseen realm. To the audiences who have wondered about the fairness of the law of cause and effect, the life of the Kendricks family is a dark patch with no solution. It shows that birth, aging, illness, and death are a heartless wheel of reincarnation ready to crush even the best of people. Their story reminds us to cherish every peaceful moment in the present because no one knows from which direction the storm will strike tomorrow. Levi Stubbs. Levi Stubbs was the powerful lead voice of the Four Tops in an unshakable monument of the Motown era. He possessed a fiery baritone voice capable of conveying the most intense emotions of love. Yet unlike many other artists who often choose fame over family, Levi was the most beautiful testament to faithful love. When receiving the devastating news that his wife Clinice had a critical illness, he did not hesitate for a moment, making the decision to give up his illustrious music career, canceling all tours to dedicate his remaining time entirely to her. Let us analyze the meaning of giving up. For an artist, stepping away from the stage is like being stripped of their source of life. But Levi Stubbs proved that the biggest and most meaningful stage of his life was standing beside the woman who had accompanied him since his days of poverty. I highly value his action as it demonstrates a rare bravery. Amidst the temptations of glory and money, he still maintained the clarity to realize what was truly important. The sticky notes posted all over the house reminding him of medication times, the nights keeping the lights on, to watch his wife's every breath are the greatest love song he ever sang in his life. Even though Clinice eventually had to leave him, that departure took place in the warm embrace and complete protection of her husband. Levi's pain was not regret, but the emptiness of a person who had fully fulfilled his marital vows. To our older audience, the image of Levi collapsing in tears by his wife's hospital bed brings sorrow, but also immense respect. He showed the world a gold standard of fidelity. The story of Levi Stubbs is living proof. True love does not lie in words of praise on stage, but in silent sacrifice, willing to trade an entire sky of fame just to protect the smile of one single woman. Sam Moore. Closing this haunting list is Sam Moore, one half of the legendary duo Sam and Dave, who helped shape the face of soul music in the 60s. With a fiery voice and an energetic performance style, he was once a symbol of strength, inspiring millions of audiences. Yet his family life was a completely contrasting picture, where human weakness was exposed in the most raw and painful way. When his wife Joyce Moore had to face incredibly severe complications from a chronic illness, stripping her of her vision and ability to move freely, Sam could not become the solid anchor he had once sworn to be. Through the lens of psychological analysis on coping with crisis, Sam Moore's story exposes a dark patch that few dare to admit. Not everyone has enough inner strength to witness the one they love fade away. Instead of facing the harsh reality, watching his gentle wife endure exhaustion day by day, Sam chose a destructive escape. He ran away into the world of hallucinations and dependence on stimulants. I assess that this escape sometimes does not entirely stem from heartlessness, but is the manifestation of a complete collapse of willpower. The massive pressure of caring for a sick person, coupled with the extreme fear of loss, broke the rationality of a man. The heartbreaking incident reached its peak when authorities found Joyce in a deep coma right inside their home, while her legendary husband was immersed in a state of lost awareness, completely unable to call for medical assistance. To audiences with a tolerant and experienced perspective, this is a complete tragedy of human life. It points out a poignant truth. Illness can ravage the patient's body, but it is despair and surrendering to adversity that truly shatters a family. Sam Moore's story is a bitter wake-up call, reminding us of the importance of life's bravery. In the darkest hours of destiny, running away is never the solution. Clarity, tolerance, and a spirit of responsibility are the only light that saves the people we love. Closing these 21 sorrowful stories, we hope the video has brought you moments of deep reflection on the priceless value of health-family ties and the impermanence of human life behind the brilliant halo. We wish you always have a relaxing, joyful, peaceful, and warm time with your beloved family. If you found this video meaningful, please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to continue accompanying our memory vault. Goodbye, and see you again.